Welcome to Forging Glory Devlog number 7. In today's stand-up meeting with the world, we will talk about what we worked on yesterday, what we will work on today, and a little bit about our design philosophy regarding unblockable attacks like Area of Effect. Do you remember the underbarrel grenade launcher in Call of Duty original Modern Warfare, famously known as the noob tube? This is one of the many examples where damaging area effect abilities seem to ruin the perceived skill of a game. Oftentimes there is no way to block area effect damage, meaning the defender has no recourse. They just pray that the attacker has really poor aim, which is kind of funny by itself because area effect usually makes it easier to aim. In many shooters, arguably most shooters, feeling helpless is the antithesis of what the game's fantasy is about. Such action games want you to feel like a god of the battlefield. Imagine the Doomslayer courageously running towards a horde of demons, then suddenly being blown up by a stray rocket. Game over. That totally doesn't fit our fantasy of the Doomslayer's badassery. If the fantasy is about being powerful, then the worst thing a game can do is make them feel absolutely powerless. Helpless. Ideally, a game should have some kind of defense against area effect weapons, besides luck. For example, Overwatch features many shields that block the area effect damage. Fun fact, did you know that Blizzard had to specifically code in blocking area effect damage through the shield? In most games, area effect simply harms everyone within the range of the explosion, regardless of what physical barriers may be in the way. Taking physical barriers into account actually requires quite a bit more effort out of the engineers. In Forging Glory, we don't have any magical sci-fi barriers like Overwatch. Although we do have some fantastical feats in the game, we always ensure that the core combat is about swinging, shooting, and blocking. That's the fantasy we're selling in Forging Glory. Be a badass gladiator. When you think of a gladiator, you don't think about grenade launchers or other weapons that can incur massive damage in a huge radius. You think of an intense battle between two skilled warriors attacking and countering, back and forth, until finally someone outsmarts the other. Thus, nearly every interaction in Forging Glory requires the user to aim their attack, which can be countered by blocking with a weapon or shield. To accommodate this design, we've had to avoid or adjust many special abilities players may take for granted in other games. You may be thinking, wait, haven't you been talking about explosive traits for like days? Yes, and they don't quite work the way you may expect. For example, in this concussive explosion trait, we need to successfully hit the enemy to initiate the explosion. The defenders have the opportunity to block it. Beyond that, the concussive explosion does no damage, instead only knocking enemies down. Also, we ensure that the few area of effect traits we have a very small radii, usually just a maximum of a few meters, which is nothing compared to the area of effect high damage abilities in MOBAs, where you're pretty much screwed. One of my least favorites is Ares from Smite. His ultimate ability has a huge radius that pulls all nearby enemies towards him, then stuns them. Depending on how Ares is equipped and how well his team works together, this can be used to instant kill at least one or more enemies every minute or so. Don't get me wrong, it's a ton of fun for Ares and his team. But Zoop, don't you know about Purification Beads, the item that completely cancels this out? Yes, I do. But it's not that much fun. It's very mechanical and not dramatic. You see Ares, you buy Purification Beads. When you see him jump in the air, you push the magic button that cancels it. The defense is far less cool compared to what Ares and his team get to do. The funny thing is, Purification Beads cooldown is longer than Ares' ultimate, meaning that he's pretty much guaranteed a successful ultimate every other attempt. High damage area effect is oftentimes more fun for the attacker than it is for the defender, by a long shot. Whenever I see Ares on the enemy team, I feel helpless. Well, I guess I'm just gonna die twice as many times as normal just because they chose Ares. Funnily enough, I'm very bad at playing tanks in Smite. I never play them. And yet I still have an above 50% win ratio with Ares. That's how powerful he is. So it's that time again. We need to talk about our progress. We've been continuing our work on traits, fixing bugs, polishing the visuals, and the feel when using them, in particular, how they're triggered. Previously, some traits were kind of awkward because you'd push the trait button and immediately that would start the countdown for how long you got to use that trait. So that means if you push the button too early, you're essentially wasting time. We've now made a modification where the countdown doesn't start until the first hit, so you get to maximize how many hits you get with that special ability. Since traits are effectively being overhauled, unfortunately this does take a lot of serious coding time. We do hope to be moving on soon, but it's hard to predict. And that wraps up this devlog. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like and subscribe. What is the most overpowered area of effectability you've seen in a game? Please tell us in the comments below. Thanks for watching. See you tomorrow.